Family stood by my sister after she stole my inheritance. Her ex-husband exposed her to me, so I took everything back. I never expected it to happen this way. Not like this. You always hear stories about families torn apart by money, by greed, but you never really think it'll happen to you. That is, until it does. I was always the quiet one, the one who kept to herself and let life pass by in a quiet, comfortable way. But everything changed the day my sister, Emma, decided to steal my inheritance. It all started when my parents passed away. They were never wealthy, but they had worked hard their whole lives to build a small estate. Their will was simple. Everything was to be split equally between Emma and me. Or so I thought. My lawyer had sent me the papers. Everything was clear, until I got the phone call from the bank. Rebecca, are you aware that a large sum has been transferred from your parents' account to Emma's? I froze. Emma? I hadn't heard from her since the funeral. We'd always had a somewhat strained relationship, but this was something different. Emma and I had never been close, but the fact that she would go this far shocked me. I tried calling her, but she didn't answer. A week passed, then two. The money was gone, and no one in the family seemed to notice. That was when the first cracks began to show. A week later, I bumped into her ex-husband, Josh. I hadn't seen him in years, and the last time we'd spoken, he was still married to Emma. They'd had a messy divorce, but seeing him now, I couldn't help but wonder what he was doing in town. Rebecca, Josh said, his voice low as he approached me at the coffee shop. I need to talk to you. I raised an eyebrow. Josh? What's going on? He glanced around before sitting down across from me. It's about Emma. What she did. I know everything, Rebecca. She took the money. Your inheritance. I stared at him, confused. What are you talking about? Emma wouldn't. She would. She has, and I know because I found the bank statements. She used you, Rebecca. She played everyone. I shook my head, the anger bubbling inside me. No. I've seen the will. Everything was supposed to be split equally. She convinced the lawyer to change it, Josh said, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know how, but she did. She signed your name on the documents. The entire inheritance, Rebecca, it's in her hands. My heart sank, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. My mind raced as I tried to process what Josh was saying. Emma had always been manipulative, but this was a whole new level of betrayal. You have to be wrong, I said, almost pleading with him. I'll check with the lawyer, You need to listen to me, Josh interrupted. I loved Emma once. I did. But she's not the woman you think she is. And I can't stand by and watch her do this to you. I've got the proof. Everything. I felt the weight of his words sink into my bones. I wasn't imagining this. This wasn't a misunderstanding. She had stolen from me, from our family. But what could I do? My own family stood by her. No one believed me. Rebecca, my mother's voice echoed in my head. Emma's your sister. She's been through so much, and you have to understand that we all make mistakes. She needs this money. It's hers now. I had begged, I had pleaded with them. But it was clear where their loyalties lay. My parents had always favored Emma. She was the golden child. The one who could do no wrong. So when she came to them, crying, with her sad story about how she needed the inheritance to survive, they believed her. They turned on me, the quiet, reserved daughter who had never caused any trouble. But Josh? He wasn't fooled by her act. And as much as I hated to admit it, I was grateful for him. He was the one who had the courage to expose her. I couldn't just sit back anymore. I couldn't let her get away with it. I had to take everything back. How do we fix this? I asked Josh, my voice steady now. I can help you, he said, leaning forward. But you have to be smart. We can't just go to the bank or the lawyer. Emma will see it coming. You need to be patient. You need to plan. I don't have time to wait, Josh. He looked at me with a knowing expression. I know, but rushing into this could make it worse. Emma has connections, Rebecca. She's been setting this up for years. If you try to take it from her too quickly, she'll find a way to bury you. I nodded slowly, the gravity of the situation settling in. What do we do? First, Josh said, his voice quiet but determined, we need to gather everything. The bank records, the original will, the emails, the documents. We need to show the lawyer she forged your name. We need to prove she tricked everyone. It was a daunting task. But I didn't have a choice. I couldn't live with myself knowing Emma was living a life off the money that should have been mine. With Josh's help, I started digging. We visited the lawyer, we combed through old family records, and we spent weeks piecing everything together. Emma was slipping up. Little things, tiny cracks in her story, began to show. Finally, we had everything we needed. The day came when I stood in front of my family, holding the documents that would change everything. Emma, I said, my voice steady but fierce. You stole from me. You forged my name on the will, and you took what wasn't yours. This is the proof. She stared at me, wide-eyed, but there was no remorse in her face. You have nothing, Rebecca. This isn't going to work. Try me, I said. You've been playing this game for far too long. It ends now. And it did. Emma tried to deny it at first, but when the lawyer confirmed the forgery and the bank records were presented, there was no escaping it. The money was returned to me, the rightful heir. I could finally breathe again. But Emma wasn't done. She had a way of slithering out of things, always with a backup plan, a defense she hadn't yet revealed. I knew her too well. Rebecca, this isn't over, Emma said coldly, standing in front of me in the lawyer's office, her arms crossed over her chest. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but I could hear the threat behind it. You think you've won? Think again. I stood firm, the weight of the situation lifting from my chest, but her words were like a stone sinking to the bottom of my stomach. What more could you possibly have left, Emma? You've been caught. She didn't flinch. You might have the money, but you'll never have this family's trust. Not anymore. I met her gaze, steady. Maybe that's the price you pay for betrayal. For stealing from your own sister. You're not welcome in this family anymore, Emma. Her eyes flickered with something I almost recognized as panic, but it quickly vanished, replaced with an icy resolve. You think this is the end? You think the lawyer will just hand over the money and call it quits? There are things you don't know. Things I can still do. Like what? I shot back, my voice unwavering. You've already been exposed. You can't just pretend like nothing happened. Oh, I can pretend. I can make everyone forget, she said, her smile thin and dangerous. I'm not the one who'll be remembered as the villain here, Rebecca. You are. Because once this goes public, no one will care about the truth. They'll care about the spectacle. I felt my chest tighten. She always had a way of making herself seem like the victim, even when she was the one at fault. But I couldn't let her get away with this again. I won't let you do this, I said, my voice suddenly quieter, more measured. You've lost, Emma. You have no leverage left. Oh, I do. I always have leverage, she sneered. And you'll find it out soon enough. I turned to the lawyer, who had been silent through the exchange. Is this true? I asked, my voice steady, though my heart was racing. Can she still do something to undo this? The lawyer cleared his throat, visibly uncomfortable. Unfortunately, there's always a chance for legal loopholes, Rebecca. But I'd advise against being overly concerned. You've got a solid case. If she tries anything now, she risks more consequences. Emma glared at him. You think you've won, don't you? Well, go ahead and savor your victory for now, but nothing lasts forever. You'll see. Her words hung in the air as she stormed out of the room, leaving me with nothing but the silence of the aftermath. For a moment, I almost doubted myself. What if she had something else? What if she had planned for this all along? But the lawyer's reassuring presence and the support from Josh steadied me. Later that evening, I sat alone in my apartment, the weight of the day's events sinking in. I thought of everything that had been taken from me, everything Emma had stolen. Not just the money, but my peace of mind, my family's trust. It had all been a game to her, a cruel game where the only rule was get ahead, no matter the cost. I was still processing everything when my phone rang. It was Josh. Hey, Rebecca, he said. You okay? I'm fine, I replied, forcing a smile, even though I knew he couldn't see it. Just, everything's still sinking in. I know, he said softly. But you did the right thing. I mean, you had to do it. What she did to you wasn't just stealing money, it was destroying everything you had left of your parents. I don't know anymore, I confessed, letting my voice break for the first time since all of this started. I feel like I've lost more than just the inheritance. I have lost my family. I have lost trust. I have lost her. You didn't lose her, Rebecca. She lost you. She pushed you to this point. You didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice, I repeated softly. But the weight of those words, the truth behind them, felt heavier than anything I'd experienced before. The next few weeks were a blur. As expected, the family didn't take kindly to what I'd done. My mother, of course, still clung to Emma, believing every sob story she fed her. My father, while more quiet, never spoke against me, but I could tell he was struggling with the fallout. When the press caught wind of the situation, it didn't make it any easier. Emma's story of betrayal, of me being the villain, spread like wildfire. But I refused to back down. I had the evidence, and I wasn't afraid to use it. One night, I sat with Josh in a quiet restaurant, trying to drown out the noise of the world around me. "Do you regret it?" he asked, his voice low. "Regret it?" I thought for a moment. No, not at all. But sometimes, I wish it hadn't come to this. I wish Emma hadn't gone that far. That she hadn't taken everything, even the love I thought we had as sisters. Josh leaned forward, his eyes intense. "You've done nothing wrong, Rebecca. And in the end, everything that she did, everything she tried to hide from you, will come back to her. It always does." I nodded, but something in me wasn't at peace yet. I knew I had taken what was rightfully mine, but the path I'd had to walk, the bridges I'd had to burn, I wasn't sure I'd ever fully heal from it. Days passed, and Emma's legal attempts to reclaim what she'd lost only became more desperate. She hired a new lawyer, one with a reputation for bending the law. But every attempt she made was blocked, and with every failure, her story started to unravel in front of the courts. As I sat through the final hearing, I knew it was almost over. Emma's time had run out. The judge's decision was final. The inheritance was mine to keep, and Emma's attempts to manipulate the family and the system would result in criminal charges of fraud. When the court ruled in my favor, Emma stood in front of me, her face pale with fury. "You really think you've won, don't you?" she hissed. "I don't think I've won," I said, my voice steady. "I know I have." She turned away, her pride wounded beyond repair. And as I walked out of the courtroom, I felt a sense of closure. But as the doors closed behind me, I knew that while I had regained what was mine, the real victory was knowing that Emma's reign of manipulation and deceit was finally over.